right, and welcome to Fast Break Breakfast NBA podcast. My name is Keith Parrish, and I'm here once again with my buddy through the miracle of computer phone, here with Dave DuFour. John's taking the week off, but Dave, how's it going?
It's great. Back on the perfect time zone for watching sports in this country, unless I could get to Hawaii. I'm back on the West Coast, been on the East Coast for 3 weeks. And Keith, I don't know how I grew up such a big sports fan. I watched everything. I watched NFL. I watched college football. I watched college basketball. Shout out to Jefferson Pilot Sports. I watched NBA when I could. I watched every Bulls game on WGN. What was I doing? What was my mom doing? Letting me stay up. Well, I was watching basketball at
Jefferson Pilot Sports were at 11:30 a.m. on Saturdays.
Those were early. But, I mean, like, how was I following the NBA? I watched every Bulls game. Man, it must have been 4 or 5 years. I mean, the title runs, the 6 titles, I saw every game.
That's amazing if you were allowed to watch WGN and stay up for those games. I was not allowed to stay up for games. Also, we didn't have WGN. I didn't have cable. We got cable my junior year of high school. And you can date how old I am because that was the year that Rex Chapman was on the Suns and hit this unbelievable three-pointer falling out of bounds in the playoffs. And I lost my mind. And that was probably like 11:30 p.m. And I don't know how I was allowed to stay up that late. Like it was, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how anybody is allowed in the East Coast to follow these sports.
It's crazy. It seems irresponsible if you are a person who works like a 9 to 5. And also it seems like punishment. Keith, sports start here. Sunday football.
Yeah.
It starts at 10 a.m.
That sounds cool.
Basketball, 4:30 in the afternoon.
Well, are you ready for the in-season tournament semifinals? What are they like? That's at like 4 p.m. Eastern or 5 p.m. What's going on?
2 p.m. Pacific start time on Thursday. I am so pumped. And I don't work that day, Keith. So that means I actually I can spend the afternoon watching some fun competitive basketball. And then I don't have to do anything after. I get to just enjoy my night. I can have dinner at a normal time.
The obvious downside to East Coast sports, like when I go visit my in-laws did live in Knoxville. They just moved to the Central Time Zone. They now live in town. When I went to the Eastern Time Zone and you'd have these games starting at like 10 or 11, I'm like, this is madness up at like, I used to stay up. I probably stayed up to 2 a.m. until I was 30. But then I had kids and then it's like, well, that's over. So now it's like, that's the hard part. But again, the flip side is if you have kids and the games start at 4, well, then like I'm not gonna be a deadbeat dad and just watch basketball all afternoon while my kids are home. Like,
are you trying to say that explains the West Coast?
No, it does. Well, maybe the benefit of either Central Time and Eastern Time is like, all right, you put the kids to bed at 7 or 8. Now it's time to dive in. Now you could just ignore your partner and just fully dive into watching basketball, as opposed to like if these games started at 4, like no, my kids would be doing the Cats in the Cradle song. Like, well, my dad lived at home, but
I've lived in every time zone in the contiguous U.S.
Really?
Adult, right? Yeah. I've lived in a lot of different time zones, Keith. Not just here. And Germany was the worst place to watch sports because
sure.
Right? South Korea was the best place because I was watching NBA at 7 a.m.
Yeah, in the morning, breakfast time.
I would put it on in my classroom.
That's the true fast break breakfast. That's what I want. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd watch hoops. Central Time, pretty good. Arizona is great because no daylight savings. So you're Mountain and your Pacific time. So you actually kind of get a little bit of both there. I think Pacific time is just better, especially since this is my job. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
if it wasn't work, I wouldn't stay up until 1 a.m. on the East Coast when I'm visiting family at all. I would be like, oh, no, sleep is way more important. But since it is my job, I like that.
Well, also, if you're like an independent podcaster, like I am, there's a huge advantage, like, because we're producing content that is essentially it evaporates after a few days.
Yes,
like, I mean, I will say you can listen to 9-year-old episodes of Fast Break Breakfast. They're still good. They're still funny. but like not as many people are doing that. Usually it's like, this is a sports thing. This week, let's do it. But the benefit for an independent podcaster being on the West Coast is like, oh, I can record these episodes after the games are done, have them up first thing. That's like the big, I'm jealous of one like Josh Lloyd, the fantasy basketball guy in Australia. Like, what an advantage. And then like, dunked on all the people on the West Coast where it's like, they can record these shows at like normal times, like 9 p.m., 10 p.m. and cover all the games. I'm not staying up to 1 or 2 to get these things out. Sorry, apologies to everyone. I'm going to wake up the next morning, have a cup of coffee, maybe rewatch some of the game, and then record my Grizzlies show, mid-morning or so. And I'm probably losing a few listeners if I could be first. But anyways,
nobody commutes anymore. People are gonna pick it up when they pick it up now, and that's actually the nice thing about what we do. But man, all right, enough complaining about.
No, I believe.
Not even a complaint. I'm just happy to be back.
We had it on the rundown. Let's talk about time zones for 12 minutes. And we did it. No, we got to get to our breakfasts. Before we get to anything else, Dave, you know the drill. Before we get to any more time zone talk, we got to get our breakfast out of the way. What breakfast? Have you had a breakfast? No. What breakfast talk? No, you
never do. Not a breakfast guy, man. I will say this. I'm drinking delicious Stoke cold brew espresso blend. It's fantastic. It's really good. It's
well, good for you. My breakfast, thanks for asking. I had a few cups of coffee and then I just made myself again, not a healthy smoothie, raspberries, carrots, banana, and then some vanilla yogurt, and ice. So yeah, it was not bad. It's not terrible. It's not a straight up dessert, but I'm not.
Yeah, you should crack an egg and drop it in there. Just add a little bit more protein.
I don't do that. I might eat an egg later. My favorite breakfast.
Or something green in there.
Just cooked egg. Yeah, that's all. That's all. Yeah, any fried egg, scrambled egg, best thing in the world. Anyways, those were our breakfasts. Now, Dave, after our breakfast, we move to our breakfast in bed apologies, where we make right what we might have gotten wrong in a previous episode. As a guest, you don't have to do an apology, but I have one specific factual error I made that I would like to clear up. Last week, I was talking about the incredible revenge game that Reggie Jackson and DeAndre Jordan had against their former team, the Clippers. I was marveling at their stats, and in doing so, I actually underreported DeAndre Jordan's stat line. I said he had 18 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists. I must have turned the game off early. He had 21 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists. So I feel terrible. He was hooping. He had an amazing game. And for that factual error, I'd like to make that right and apologize. Dave, do you have anything you need? Do you feel like you want to apologize, or we can just move right on?
This is a big one.
Yeah.
When the in-season tournament was announced,
yeah,
I hate to say it, and I was a hater. I said,
"Oh, come on!"
I was like, "What is this? Like, is this a money grab? It looks so convoluted." Yeah, it's great. That's it. That's my apology. It's great. I think it's funny how many people are still acting confused, even though we're in the knockout stage. It's now it actually makes sense. I would personally add another tournament, I think, because it's been fun. The players are bought in. The only bad thing about it, and by the way, the medals, what a perfect stroke. I love the medals. I like the trophy. All this stuff looks like stuff you would get for being good at basketball, right? Like, it's like, oh, you won a tournament, a basketball tournament. Here's a trophy
and a bag of money.
Like You're right. And that's so counter to what the NBA has given us from a design standpoint. But the only bad thing about it has been the courts, and still, I would argue, not awful. They took a swing. They did try to differentiate it, which we always ask for. Hey, make this thing, whatever it is, All-Star game, Christmas Day, make it feel special. They tried. And so I wasn't, I'm not going to say I wasn't receptive. I'm going to try it out. And I loved it. But I did not anticipate thinking it was a great idea and that people would care.
Yeah.
But what I've realized, the players bought in. For whatever reason, they did. At first, you could tell, like the interviews, they were being honest. I'm not quite sure, but we're going to Vegas. And then
they were also confused about it. They were much like
because group play was.
Yeah,
like,
the group play confused them just like it confused fans, where they were like, someone, I can't remember which the player was, where they were like, it might have been Xavier Tillman, who was like, I'm not sure about the group play. Maybe that'll be a time for younger players to play or something. And it's like, no, it's just regular season games. That's still the thing when people are talking bad about it. And we're going to talk a lot about the in-season tournament on this episode. But like, I still get texts where people are like, this is this silly tournament. You're like, it's still just regular season games. Like, it's just flex scheduling.
Right.
We just added, you like flex, like, oh, we took the Titans off Monday night. Good. And it's like, yeah, you just added another Lakers Suns game. What's weird about that? That's just good.
Well, the thing is, they could go to 78 games, and then it's the 4 group play games, right? Or whatever it is for each team. And that maybe is a clearer way to do this. But I think an imperfect solution and trying something is the right way to go. Like, perfect is the enemy of good, and this was very good.
Yeah,
very good. Not confusing. And again, like, it does feel
it's still confusing. I'm sorry.
I mean, you know, a lot of people are looking to boohoo and they say, you know, these guys play hard every night. Well, that's number one. That's not true. And number two, it's not about that. It's about the fans. This is a sport that's made for spectators, and the fans pay money to see it on a Monday night in Indianapolis in December. I mean, there's football on.
Yes.
It was a packed house, and it felt like a playoff vibe from the crowd. The players were bought in, obviously. That game was amazing. But the biggest thing was the fans were all standing up. I mean, this was playoff field basketball. So, you know, it's a win all the way around. We all won. It's great. About
that Monday night game in Indiana, I heard somewhere that like they were getting a lot of walk-up fans, like trying to get people in the door. Mm-hmm. If that's true, good.
Yes.
That's great.
Demand.
Yeah, it's like, hey, do you want to come see this? You want to come see this basketball game? Great, let's get those people in the door. Let's like that's amazing.
They're gonna be doing that in Vegas too, and
they are going to be doing that in Vegas.
Guess what? What a great way to find new fans.
Yes,
you know,
it seems good.
It's a win, man. It's great. We gotta look the design stuff. I've got some issues with. Like, let's do something different with these courts. Let's have better jerseys. If we're gonna do special jerseys for
we keep saying it.
Games.
Give it a name. In-season tournament, is it a descriptor?
Well, the NBA Cup. I think the NBA Cup is
next year
for now, but next year name it after somebody.
No, I think next year it's just gonna be called the NBA Cup.
Oh well, congrats. Oh, did I name it?
No, everyone. I think this is what everyone said. Everyone's been like, "Why is it just called the NBA Cup? This doesn't make any sense. Why are they playing for an NBA Cup and calling it the in-season?"
It's going to be the American Airlines NBA Cup, or
it's going to be Elon Musk
Crypto.com.
The Elon Musk NBA Cup. Let's wrap our apologies before we get to our best thing. By the way, Dave, do you know how many games DeAndre Jordan in his career has with at least 21 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists?
5.
2. That was the second game of his career.
That's rough.
With at least 21 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists. Anyways, those were our apologies. Before we get to our steak and eggs best thing, just a word from Underdog Fantasy. If you want to play unique fantasy sports for cash, you can do that at Underdog Fantasy. Also, by the way, if you happen to be in Alaska, Mississippi, Alabama, or Tennessee, I'm in Tennessee. Right now, they will match your opening deposit up to $500 if you use promo code FBBF. That's in honor of their higher or lower offerings now being available in those states. So if you want to try out Underdog Fantasy, use that promo code. It's a great time to sign up, especially if you live in Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, or Alaska. Just remember the promo code FBBF. All right, steak and eggs, best thing, Dave. Is your best thing just that you're reveling in the goodness of Adam Silver calling the shots with this in-season tournament?
The fan buy-in has been awesome. I mean, again, I just mentioned the game the other day, but it starts with the players, and I think the players have done a good job, a really good job. I mean, LeBron after the game last night, which we're going to talk about, and I can't wait. It's a perfect finish for that game. LeBron after the game, he really did kind of lay it out in a way that I thought was cool. Hey, look, we're out here. We're competing hard. You guys want us to compete hard now, and we're doing it. Like we're out here being asked to fight. We're fighting, you know, and it's not just another regular season game. I like that. And especially coming from LeBron, like he is the leader of this league. When he speaks, I think other guys follow. And it's obvious to me that he's bought in. I mean, you know, it's so bought in, they bought off the refs.
So I'm going to talk about the refs in a second. Actually, the ref thing does kind of lead into maybe like I haven't had a conspiracy in a while, perhaps a turkey bacon conspiracy. The conspiracy is not just that the Lakers made it. I mean, the Lakers are going to have a huge home court advantage in these Las Vegas games. The crowd's going to be all LeBron jerseys and such. Some Lonzo Ball jerseys, a lot of Lakers fans there. But the one thing that confused me when they first initially announced the tournament was just the scheduling, just the way it was going to work for every team. So, all right, you've released 80 regular season games. We're going to figure out the other 2. And I'm like, okay, but how are we going to find out that how our team's going to end up with like balanced schedules? Like, and
right.
and so one of the things I liked was we found out, it's not going to be totally balanced. Guess what? Grizzlies and Pistons, you're playing 3 times this year. Spurs and Bulls, you're playing 3 times this year. You think it's a gift. It's not going to be a gift when the Pistons snap their 17-game losing streak against the Grizzlies tonight. But, no. Then the other question was like, all right, every team during this week of the in-season tournament is going to play 1 home game, 1 road game. And again, my thinking, maybe NBA scheduling nerd, well, I'm like, well, how's that going to work? Like, it might not work out because you have the quarterfinals. And here's my conspiracy. In both conferences, in the quarterfinals, we had 1 home team and 1 road team win. So guess what? The scheduling actually worked out perfectly. So like if both home teams had lost, well, guess what? One team had now gets an extra home game. Or if both road teams had lost, well, guess what? Somebody lost out on a home game. We're talking season ticket holders getting refunds because like, hey, you bought in for 41 home games. You just lost a home game. NBA doesn't want to issue refunds. Well, guess what happened? 1 home team, Amazing. 1 road team, won. So like when you saw the Lakers coming down the wire against the Suns, they were like, man, I don't think we have another road team win here.
No refunds.
Well, no refunds. Yeah. We can't.
I mean,
we can't have the Sun. Like we gotta.
It's a way better conspiracy theory than we have to get big markets.
It was like, well, like if Kings and Lakers both lose, one of those teams loses the home game. Hey, we can't be issuing refunds. So that's
definitely not the mom and pop Lakers, man.
That's my yeah. I mean, yeah, they're basically broke. They needed those government subsidies to keep the lights on. That's my conspiracy. Here's my actual best thing though, Dave. So there's been a lot of good in the in-season tournament, a lot of great performances, but in true fast break breakfast style, I would like to recognize the least valuable players of this year's Clutch presents the Kia in-season tournament NBA Cup trophy.
Oh man, shout out to Kia. Where
I have picked the worst team all ist. This is the 5 players who did the least in the in-season tournament. And now I don't just specifically remember these games because these games have all stretched back for like the last month. But actually on NBA.com, you can filter now by the in-season tournament. It's one of the drop-down menus. Awards. I love it. So I'm going to rank them 5 to 1. We're going to count down. The last one is going to be our least valuable player of the entire in-season tournament. For number 5, for the 5th player, I had some difficulty. I was deciding between like DeMar DeRozan. He was a consideration. DeMar DeRozan, his stats were great, but he had the worst plus minus of all NBA players for the IST. As the Bulls, of course, lost all their games. I was also thinking about Marcus Sasser on the Pistons. So I don't think Marcus played enough. Maybe I should have picked Marcus Sasser for this. I've been talking him up basically in every episode, but just he came crashing down to earth in the in-season tournament. Only played about 16 minutes per game, but
listen, the lights are just a little bit brighter, Keith.
Oh yeah, maybe he's not built for the tournament. Yeah, it's true. That's a good point.
Not everybody is.
Marcus Sasser was 5 for 23 from the field. That's 21.7% during the in-season tournament games. But I did settle on, I considered DeRozan, I considered Sasser, but I settled on for number 5, Cade Cunningham. He's the main player. He's the lead engine for the worst team in the NBA. And during the in-season tournament games, where of course the Pistons lost all their games, he only made 39% of his field goals attempts and averaged 4.5 turnovers per game. You could push back 8, not bad, but you could push back and say those are just his regular numbers. You're correct. So I don't feel good about it. Like he just But like,
he
hey,
was
if
no worse, right? Like
he was no worse than regular,
yeah.
but because he's on one of the worst teams, because he's the main usage guy, and again, sub 40% from the field, 4.5 turnovers, you lose all the games. You make the all tournament worst team.
Being the best player on the worst team in the league.
Yeah,
I at least want to see some numbers.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, come on. Like this is why I'm so disappointed in Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole having an all-time season.
His stats, so no Wizards make this team. Spoiler. It's weird looking at the Wizards stats. All the individual stats are fine. And you're like, well, I guess that's what happens when you don't play defense.
Defense, yeah.
Yeah. Next player on the negative or the least valuable all tournament team, Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook, the Clippers did not do well in the in-season tournament, but Russell Westbrook somehow, he made 30% of his field goal attempts in tournament games. He only played 19 minutes a game, but was still found a way to miss 7 shots per game. So he was 3 out of 10 on average, which is some extreme chucking from Russell Westbrook.
That's a shot every possession and a half, roughly.
Yeah, it's basically 30 field goal attempts per game as a 6-man, or per 40 minutes or so. So like Russell Westbrook, I think I'm baking in the fact that like the Clippers underperformed, went 1-3 in group play, and like him going 12 out of 40 from the field in these games. I mean, that's just putrid. And most of it was 2-pointers. He was 10 out of 30 on 2-pointers, was a team worst, second worst on his team with a -42 in those 4 games. So Russell Westbrook makes it. Our next player, I feel bad for recognizing him for this, but Kevin Love. Kevin Love was especially useless for the Miami Heat in these games. He was a very disappointing, excuse me while I edit out this pause. He was a very disappointing 4 out of 23 from the field, which is the worst field goal percentage of any player who attempted at least 20 field goals in the in-season tournament. Miami went 2-2 in the group play. Again, underperforming, I'd say, their expectations. Kevin Love only played 3 games. Of course, he played both losses. I feel like if he would have made, maybe 30% of his field goal attempts, they do much better. So Kevin Love, shooting 4 out of 23 in his 3 games, he makes it on the worst team all tournament. Now our final two.
That's tough.
I mean, he's a good role player. I'm just saying, I'm looking for a little bit more. Could I have found a Grizzlies player to shoehorn in here?
Yes.
Their stats are all pretty good. Again,
I don't know. Hey, John Morant hasn't scored a single point.
John Morant, least valuable player of the 2023-2024 NBA season. 100%.
That's a topic for another day, but I'll just say, I think John Morant has been railroaded here. I think this is just, we went a little bit too far.
It's too late now. There's only 6 games left of the suspension.
We went a little bit too far.
Yeah.
In hindsight, this seems like a vast overreach.
Yeah. But the final 2 players are truly head and shoulders above every other player who's been mentioned so far. Like, I feel bad a little bit about Kevin Love. Russell Westbrook, his job is to provide energy to a lifeless corpse of a team. He does that. Cade Cunningham, what do you want from him? That team stinks.
He's playing with Killian Hayes. But
the final 2 players for my worst team all tournament, easy picks, head and shoulders worse than everybody else. The runner-up for the least valuable player award, Malachi Branham of the Spurs. And Malachi Branham, of course, the Spurs, they finished in last place in group play with the worst point differential. In no small part due to Malachi's play. He missed all 16 of his 3-point attempts in the 4 games he played. He was a team worst -62 in total plus minus in the 4 games. I mean, the guy only played 22 minutes per game, but that's still, I think, significant enough to, when you have these staggering stats, 0 for 16 on threes, -62. So that makes him worst among all NBA players in net rating during the IST. So Malachi Branham, you are the runner-up, making the least valuable or worst team all tournament. And then our winner, the least valuable player, Dave. This might be a controversial pick, but I feel very passionate about it. The worst player in the in-season tournament, unfortunately, was Shaden Sharp.
Oof.
I really like Shaden Sharp. I think he's good. Good player. Shaden Sharp was asked to do a lot. I don't think they're that bad, actually. Like, they're a team, I don't know. I don't want to get sidetracked,
listen,
but
I would love to have a conversation about DeAndre Ayton and how I'm disappointed in DeAndre, because I've been a proponent of DeAndre Ayton since he was drafted. I liked him in college. I thought he was misused at Arizona. He's a wonderful shooter, great scorer. Obviously, he's a very good offensive player. Outside of 5 feet from the basket, he does nothing with force inside. But the thing that I'm disappointed in, I mean, look, the defense is whatever. I think he's a better defender than we see in Portland. I really wanted him to be more aggressive offensively. Like, I thought that he could help those young guards because he knows how to score. And if you can do what he does inside 16 feet, he could open up a lot of driving lanes for those guys, especially because he's not a bad passer. I've just been disappointed in general with him because I thought, hey, here's an opportunity for this guy to actually like show out a little bit. But hadn't happened. I think that Shaden Sharp is one of the guys that it's to his detriment that Ayton hasn't been more aggressive, because Shaden has had to be the guy who's like, I'm going to do everything.
Yeah.
And then you get, now he's the least valuable player in the inaugural in-season tournament.
It's a tough break for him.
Going to stick on his resume.
It's true.
He's getting hosed here.
With Ayton, the thing that's embarrassing, that I find most embarrassing about his play this year, is like he has a Ben Simmons level aversion to getting fouled and go to the foul line. Like he's a good free throw shooter. He's a great free throw shooter for a big. He's like 80%, and he just doesn't do it. No, I think the Trailblazers, man, when Anthony Simons comes back, and you got Anthony Simons and Shaden Sharp, and Malcolm Brogdon playing pretty well, and like Jeremy Grant's all right, and like Tumani Kamara is like a good hustle player, and like maybe Scoot will do something. Like they have bodies of like talented guys, but regardless,
I gotta tell you, it sounds like you're about to start a blog.
No,
we're just staying.
Not doing it. But Shaden Sharp, all right. If you want to argue against it, he averaged nearly 17 points per game in these tournament losses, but he was playing 40 minutes a game, and he only made 33% of his field goal attempts. This is playing 40 minutes per game, 33% from the field in his 4 in-season tournament group play games. And also, Dave, his assist to turnover ratio, 1-2. Underwater on assist to turnover ratio. Somehow he turned the basketball over 20 times in 4
games.
Group play games. How do you even do that?
I mean, that's Cade Cunningham.
Those are Cade Cunningham. Those are Joel Embiid. I'm averaging 40 points per game numbers. Those are Giannis. Yeah. I'm a heliocentric 35, 15, and 5 guy.
Yeah.
Shaden is going, I scored 16 points. I played 40 minutes. I made a third of my shots, and I turned the ball over 5 times every game. That's horrible. And so because of that, congratulations, Shaden Sharp, in winning the inaugural least valuable player of the in-season tournament. And to run it down again, my worst team all tournament: Cade Cunningham, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Love, Malachi Branham, and Shaden Sharp. Congratulations to everyone who played and tried to make the team. By the way, Dave, do you have a least valuable coach of the in-season tournament? I have one.
Whoa.
I mean, it's Greg Popovich.
Greg Popovich.
What are you even doing? Why are you humiliating yourself?
Right.
Why, have you tried grabbing a microphone during practice and telling your players to actually maybe compete, play basketball?
You guys make some shots. Yeah.
No. Dave, thanks for sitting there while I
yes. No, that was
went through the entire bad team. Now let's do again. That was my best thing. That was my steak and eggs.
That was your best thing.
Yeah, that was steak and eggs best thing. I love that stuff. The opposite of our steak and eggs best thing is our worst thing. Dave, what's your worst thing this week?
Points.
What do you mean,
Dave?
Too
many of them, Keith. There's just too many damn points. I try, Keith. I watch these games. I I can't do it anymore. Keith, it is impossible to defend in this league. Star players look at the referee after they throw their body into a guy, and they're wondering where their foul call is, and they know that the next trip down they can get it. This is a huge problem to me. Doing whatever necessary to just make it so the points are higher. I understand that in America, the number always has to go up, but you have now gotten to the point where it is no longer a basketball game. It is a basketball exhibition. There is no defense. It is a shooting contest. And Keith, you were one of the first people, outside of me and a couple of people that I talked to about basketball, that brought it up to me that the 3-point shooting is the only thing that matters, and how it actually can kill a lot of the fun and enjoyment of watching the game. To me, you've actually just, you're making a different sport now. It is not, if you can't play defense, which you can't, it's been legislated, it's called, you cannot play defense. I don't know what to do with the game. 146, the Bucks scored. They gave up, what was it, 122.
Right.
122, the losing team had. This is not basketball. This is not a basketball sport. So for me, my worst thing is the points. It's out of control.
So there's a lot of things wrapped into that points thing. Like, I think there is the propensity of 3-point shooting, and the fact that the 3-point shot is worth too much.
Right.
And then there's also the way, like you said, defense has been legislated out of the game. And it's not even that the defense is bad, and it's not even that the defenders are not trying. Like, there are certainly some element of the defense being bad when you watch the Pacers and the Hawks, and then you see
Damian Lillard
existing.
Yeah.
But you made this good point on social media where you were like, there's no benefit for Damian Lillard to try his best at defending, because they're just going to stick with a bunch of fouls. Yeah. Like, he's not financially. Listen, and you're like, there's no upside. Yes, go ahead.
Right. The financial incentives in this league are all predicated on offensive end. It's all about scoring points. Maybe it's about some defense here and there if you're big, but that's it. If you're Damian Lillard, there is no world where scoring 30 points isn't way better than 20 points with 4 steals and, like 6 rebounds and a win. It's just, the 30 points is what matters. The NBA cares a lot about highlights too, right? What's a highlight? You're not picking somebody's pocket. Nah, it's a big 3. It's a big dunk. Maybe it's a big block, but usually no, it's not a defensive highlight. So the stuff that actually gets you paid in the NBA, the things that you are incentivized to do, are all offensive based. And so I get it. Why would you expend the energy? Fouling out keeps you from scoring points. If you pick up 3 fouls, guess what? You're going to be sitting on the bench. There's no shots for you. So you can't do the things that actually earn you bigger contracts, and you can't do it because the refs are going to put you in foul trouble. So I understand, it's a natural human response. You ever played Operation?
Yeah.
That buzz? Yeah. A couple of those, and you're like, okay, let me be even more careful. And that's what you run into. I just think it's swung too far. The league, I mean, they're not going to do anything to change it. I'm a guy literally yelling at a cloud. It doesn't matter. But we are this is peak offense. I think there are parts that are certainly entertaining. These shootouts are fun to watch, but as a guy who is a basketball guy first, not an NBA guy, it's rough for me.
So
that's my worst thing. Points.
No, I'm basically on board. I mean, I don't like just the overall. I don't like the style of play where it just is all 3-point shots, where it's just, some teams it's drive and kick, but You're lucky.
But drive and kick is old, man.
No, I'm saying you're lucky if you get drive and kick.
Right.
It's just like pull up and shoot. And it's like they were sometime in the game last night. They're like the Bucks are 17 of 24 from three. I'm like, that stinks. Like I don't like watching that at all. And it's funny on the on Inside the NBA after the game. I think it was after the Suns game. They were like, man, there were times where like so-and-so got matched up on so-and-so and like you didn't attack that mismatch. And it's like, you know why? Because shooting 32% from three is better than attacking the mismatch to most people. Like, I mean, if you attack the mismatch, maybe your opponent into foul trouble, but there's benefits. Maybe you play inside out, but it's like even Kevin Durant posting up Austin Reeves, you're like, he's the best in the world at it. What is that, like 1.2 points per opportunity? He only has to shoot 40% from three to make that up. And it's like, they just always, I can't get over the 3-point. No one's ever explained it to me how on a fast break, how like a 3-pointer is better than a 3-on-1 getting a bucket. Like getting a layup, like a dunk. Like
I would look strategically, I guess you're thinking, I can get the offensive rebound if it's 3-on-1. I mean, it's an open shot. I think it depends on the guy. Now, I'm an old school guy. I think you should just take it in, get the 2 points.
Well, I mean, you take it in, I say expected points on a fast break on like a 3-on-1. It's like 1.6, like 1.7
NBA
or something.
Layups in general, NBA layups in general, or layups and dunks, the points per possession is extremely high. For FIBA, it's about 0.99 points per possession because
really
there's no defensive 3 seconds. So the NBA has literally changed the rules of the sport. It's the only league in the world with a defensive 3 seconds.
The defensive 3 seconds makes
open layups and dunks.
It makes no sense in the modern NBA.
No.
Where you have to guard the opponents out to 35 feet, or even like Trey Murphy 3.
Yeah.
He spots up at 28 feet and he's going to make it. So he's standing 4 feet behind the line. And like, I feel like defensive 3 seconds made sense when you had Anthony Mason and Charles Oakley, all standing in the paint because no one could shoot back then.
Well, and they didn't actually run much offense. Like isolation basketball, the defensive 3 seconds, I get the idea, right? Okay, we don't want the help to be able to just sit under the basket and wait when this guy's posting up or when this guy's driving because they didn't really run much offense. Now, number one, it would encourage teams to run more offense than just a high pick and roll. They would actually have to run concurrent actions or second tertiary actions. Like it would look more like the cool plays we always see from Europe, where there's stuff happening all over the court and wow, how's this guy open? Oh, what a great cut. You can't camp out in the lane in modern basketball because the floor is stretched too far. Yeah. So the defensive 3 seconds, the odds of a guy actually being in the lane for like 5 seconds is slim. But when you watch something like the World Cup, you can see the difference. It's harder for the offense to score because the defense actually has a chance because the guy doesn't have to clear the lane every 3 seconds, for this, let me just dip my toe out of the water because that's hot lava and this isn't. I just think like if they got rid of that, they wouldn't even necessarily have to bring back hand checking. I would bring back hand checking personally.
Yeah.
And you would fix a lot of the problems. And also you get more evolution of the sport. Maybe we get some new offense besides just the high pick and roll, which, man, I'm just sick of seeing it. Drive and kick even is just like, I don't want to watch a shooting contest. I would rather watch guys running around, doing stuff, playing basketball. And I understand it's a 48-minute game, not a 40-minute game, and all the other reasons. But I'm constantly told that the NBA has the best athletes in the world, the best basketball players in the world. I just want to see them play basketball.
So we have a listener question from Bobby Payton. He says his question is, Adam Silver approaches Fast Break Breakfast worried NBA offensive ratings are getting out of hand. But he's also a big fan of corner threes. He's a big fan of defensive 3 seconds, and he's a big fan of no hand checking. What rule changes do you suggest to the commissioner? So we can't get rid of defensive 3 seconds. We can't maybe get rid of the corner three, which I'm maybe a fan of. I'm a fan of scooting the 3-point line back.
Corner three doesn't matter.
And also, we're not allowed to get rid of hand checking. So do you have any, what suggestions would you make to the commissioner to maybe reduce scoring to give the defenders a chance if these are our parameters?
Well, what I wouldn't do is change the 3-point line in any way whatsoever. Corner threes, look, the corner in basketball is an open shot. That's why the corner three is more valuable. It's just about the geometry of the court and the way that actions happen. If you run a play to the left side of the basket, the right corner is going to be open because the defense shifts. That's it. It was always an open shot. It just used to be a 16-foot shot, not a 21-foot shot or whatever the NBA line is. So number one, that stuff doesn't matter to me. If you bring the 3-point line out, you like widen the court, expand the 3-point line. Well, you got to go out to about 28 feet before those shooting percentages really take a drastic drop, if that's what your goal is. And the side sort of the ancillary thing that happens there when you spread out the 3-point line is, guess what? Now the defense has even more ground to cover. You're going to get more dunks, more layups, probably more open threes, just because guys are going to now have even more space.
But I like dunks more than threes, though. So I feel like that's yeah.
And with no defensive 3 seconds, you'll actually get contested dunks, contested layups, things like that. So maybe you'd have to do it in conjunction. But in this scenario, we can't get rid of defensive 3 seconds. I mean, I just those are the changes. Is hand checking and defensive.
Oh, I think there's a couple big ones that are still allowed for us.
If we just didn't call non-fouls fouls, it solves
that
problem.
I'm going to call that my number one is. We allow defenders to exist.
Yeah, like
we allow a defender to be a physical presence on the court. If Joel Embiid runs into you, it's not a foul. Like that's for me, that would be the biggest change. Where if the offensive player initiates contact, those are usually not fouls. If the offensive player goes to do an unnatural shooting motion, that 100% should not be a foul. That's one where the way the rules are written now, if the defender's not in legal guarding position, you just do whatever you want because he's not in legal guarding position. So you're good. So you can do a weird thing. I would be all about like you allow that defender, and even the A to B on verticality, where if you jump straight up and if you go any amount forward, that's called a foul. No, the problem would be, I don't know how to write the rule. Yeah. But there's so many plays now where the defender is doing what I would call good defense. Like if you're playing pickup, he doesn't hit him with his hands. Right. His hands are extended. He's just trying to be big. And the defender makes contact with his torso, or the offensive player comes in and hits him in the belly or the chest or the whoever it is. JaVale McGee's jumping straight up and down or trying to, and then the defender just leans in, and it's all of those would be that's a no call. At worst case, it's offensive foul, but I'd say that's a no call. So I think allowing the defenders to exist would be big.
Well, I mean, even you mentioned A to B, just verticality. How many times have we seen a guy get just kicked into junk by a guy going up for a layup or a dunk or whatever, and he bends over, natural, and then that's a foul instead of an offensive foul. Yeah. I mean, honestly, get rid of the flagrant. Get rid of the flagrant completely. That way, when a guy gets a BS foul call, maybe he gets hammered on the next one. And I'm not I don't know that you can have I don't want the sport to go back to the violent 70s and 80s where guys are, really knocking each other's teeth out. But there is something to the physicality of defense, and you're going to respect me. And if the referees won't respect me, I'm going to just hit you so damn hard that next time you're going to go up thinking about it. I get frustrated as a player. I think about playing under these rules. I would want to fight every game because of the foul calls. I mean, the competitiveness of it, it's gone. And so they're literally saying you need to just ole and move on. Be ready to play offense.
Yeah, and inbounds the ball.
I hate it so much.
Yeah, I go back to if I was playing pickup, none of these fouls would be called.
Hell no.
Like even the offensive players. I think even maybe
it's embarrassing.
There's no way. There's so many plays where it's the defender was there, the offensive player just goes into him, and it's that wouldn't have been a foul. I think if we could overhaul the rules so allow defenders to exist. Also, if we're not going to call hand checks at all on the perimeter, very simply, call traveling.
Yeah, right.
Like just call travel. Like, and I'm not even talking.
Carry.
I'm not even talking about like the end of the dribble. I'm not even talking about like the gather step, pick it up, take 2 big steps. Those are so hard to call as it is. Like we can leave the gather step and you get, that +2. Sometimes it looks like 3, but like I'm fine with going to the bucket. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about when you start your dribble. I'm talking about like they called one on Luka Doncic in the final minute of the game last week and he was losing his mind. And like, I'm
obvious travel,
obvious, blatant travel. If you shuffle both of your feet before you start your dribble and the defenders can't hand check you, this is also the Ja Morant. Like, it's my guy on my team. Yeah. Ja Morant travels constantly. I mean, Ja Morant invented new travels. Ja Morant does the I land before I shoot travel, and he hardly ever gets called. It's amazing. But like,
I think it's because he's so little in that sea of giant people.
And so you see this called in FIBA.
Yeah.
And guess what? So like someone's like, hey, well, you don't want that call made every game, like the game would last forever. You know what would happen? The players would change within 5 minutes. Like if they
just watched it, Keith, they just did it.
Yeah, you do it in FIBA. You get called for traveling the first few times, and all of a sudden, now Brandon Ingram is thinking, I got to dribble before I move my feet. Yeah, that's the rules of basketball.
I was going to say, you got to adhere to the rules of
That's literally the rules of basketball. And yeah, they've totally gone so casual on like, and even that like the coming off the screen thing. I talk about this all the time. The shooter, Duncan Robinson, coming off a screen, catches the pass, takes 2 steps forward, and then just stands there. That's a travel. And they've decided that's not a travel in the NBA anymore. And like, I really think that's a switch they could flip. Monty McCutcheon could flip that switch today. Like the NBA refs see it.
They're good too.
Yeah, they're actually good.
These are the best referees in the world. But they are also the producers of a TV show.
Yeah.
And that is important to remember.
Yeah.
It is a basketball exhibition. When you ignore the rules and you just make up your own rules, you're not a sport to me anymore. Like you're something different. Like the NBA is the Velveeta cheese to the brie of basketball, right? Like it is
okay.
It is a produced basketball product. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said this for a few years now, but this year with the obviously the offensive explosion is just kind of blowing my mind. And I'm gonna sound like an old guy yelling at clouds, but frankly, I know more than you. I just know the sport, and that's not what I'm watching in the NBA.
Are you finishing your argument like James Harden, saying I'm intelligent?
I mean,
and I'm very intelligent.
I'm just a subject matter expert
on
the sport, right? What do you want me to do? But I'm not saying it's not fun. I'm not saying I don't enjoy it. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying that it is not your dad's NBA.
For whatever good or bad.
I mean, good and bad, right?
Yeah. One final quick rule before we move on. 3-point shots or 3-point fouls, just 2 free throws. Yeah, done.
Yeah, 100%.
Read the Hollinger article on it. Amazing. Yeah.
Listen, man,
shot fouls way too valuable.
I would dump free throws to a certain degree. I would maybe make 1 free throw. Oh, number 1, I would look again.
1 for 2. G League style. Yeah,
we're watching TV. 1 for 2. Yep. And let's speed this thing up because and way fewer fouls. Fewer fouls. That's the number 1 thing.
Here's my worst thing. It's not.
Man,
that was long.
Segment. That was good.
Here's my worst thing, and it's not that the refs missed the timeout call at the end of Lakers Suns. It came down to a play where Austin Reeves flopped. Fell down, tried to get a foul call, was not rewarded with a foul call. Good job, refs. He maintained his dribble. He started his dribble, so he wouldn't get called for traveling. He got double teamed by Durant and Booker.
On the catch.
Sure, of course. We don't call those. The ball was loose. LeBron James granted a timeout. My worst thing is not that this call was missed, because for whatever reason, this is specifically referee call. Very sympathetic to. The final scramble plays, stuff happens. You miss a call. Also, live ball timeouts are allowed in the NBA, like they're not in many other leagues. It's tough. The guy not with the ball calling timeout, that's very, very hard. So like split second, the ref has to say, oh, wait, he had the ball. LeBron said timeout. I think he had the ball, timeout. I call it. I blew my whistle. It's all split second. I'm very sympathetic to this call being made, right or wrong. My worst thing is the NBA or the lead official, Josh Tiven, he's saying the call's right. That's the story we're going with right now. Like the last 2 minute report comes out in a few hours. So we don't have the last 2 minute report right now, but he's saying, if you look at it in slow-mo, and I've done it, there's a split second. I'm talking, it's less than a tenth of a second because it only happens with 8.3 on the clock. Less than a tenth of a second. There's a split second where Austin Reeves has his hand on the ball and it's stuck on his hips.
Wrapped on his leg, right?
Stuck is Josh Chiven's word because stuck implies something that can't move. No. We're talking a freeze frame where it looks like the ball's on his hip. It's moving the whole time on its way going out. So like, if you have to freeze frame it, and this is like a touchdown, an instantaneous rule, we're like, oh, he has the set thing for 1 second, and you're saying your referee saw that split second at the same, let's say 500ths of a second. Let's say it's on his leg for 500ths of a second, and in that instant, that's the same instant he recognized the timeout and he blew it and got lucky as all heck and getting it right. Like them saying it's the right call blows my mind. Where I'm like, come on, guys. Like,
look, man,
I'm trying to defend you here, but
look, to go back to my pro wrestling roots, this was a perfect finish, though.
Perfect finish.
Look, controversy creates cash, Keith, and this is why, like, when people talk about robo umps in baseball, they're missing the point. Controversial calls, bad strike calls, bad foul calls, even depending on how egregious it is. Things like this, people are talking about it. I'm willing to give that ref all the benefit of the doubt, like you mentioned. End of the game scramble. These guys are all 6'6", 6'7". They're huge. They're running fast. You got LeBron in your ear. It was loud in the arena. I mean, there's so many reasons.
You have a bright yellow court.
My God. But there's so many reasons to miss the call. But to me, I don't know how he blows the whistle there, because it's clearly a scramble. Their hands it is. I understand making the mistake. I don't know how you made the call.
Okay. I'm not saying it's even LeBron James. I'm saying having a player with that proximity to you. Yeah. We're talking the player was with LeBron was like 10 feet away, 6 feet away. He's right there. LeBron James screaming timeout. And if you think you see the ball, like, oh, bam, I did it. I blew it. Instantaneous response. This is not the missed pass interference where Marquez Valdez-Scantling got tackled. Like, this is not like a full, right. The guy was interfered a full second before the ball got there. This is not like, I don't understand how you missed something like that. This is, oh, I get it. Like that. I totally understand. I'm perplexed. They said it was the right call. But let's move on.
There's no way to solve that either, by the way.
No, there's not. And I don't want to.
Right. I don't want to go.
I don't want to go to replay and look at it frame by frame. I don't want to solve it.
Hey, maybe some fans got some footage from courtside we can sync up and turn the audio up and try to figure this thing out. No, I don't want to do that. I'm fine with moving on. It is just one game. So.
Those were our worst things. Before we get to the awards segment of the program, we have a single listener submitted question. The croissant questionnaire. Mike F asks, is out for personal reasons the new load management? And I'm going to tell you right now, Mike, here's your answer. No. Personal reasons, very straightforward. The new load management, which I love this. This is the new load management. You can see this coming. You put a guy on the injury report with probable.
Right.
Which is something. You say
with a back.
Yeah, probable back is all the like you see probable back, probable lower calf something. You see this happen all the time. You're like, oh, the Nuggets have 5 games in the next 7 days. Oh, look at that. Reggie Jackson, KCP, and Jokic all are probable with back. And then the next game, it's questionable. Usually the first night of a back-to-back, questionable back. And then they play, and they've laid the groundwork. Well, you can see, Mr. NBA watcher, for the last 4 days, he had a back thing. It was probable. Right. It was now he's out. Oh, it's not load management. We said this is pro wrestling. This is absurd. 100%. This is absurd that they have to do this. And you see that all the time. Yeah, it's
winking to the gamblers. Hey, a couple of games, Jokic might
here's
sit one.
Oh, Dave, here's my next turkey bacon conspiracy.
Oh gosh.
The Grizzlies, like, there's no way Jake LaRavia's hurt. The Grizzlies need hardship exceptions to sign players. They need Jalen Noel to be on the team. And they're like, hey, this guy LaRavia. Oh, he hadn't suited up in months. Yeah, he hurt his eye. What was he doing? No, he hurt his eye. His eye scratched.
He was riding a scooter.
Yeah. He got hit by, he was a hit and run.
Got hit by a tuk-tuk.
He was walking through the streets of Philadelphia. No, yeah, LaRavia, he's out for 2 weeks. Like, what? Yeah. Oh, he's now, you know what? The doctor just said, it's Dr. Spaceman. It's Dr. Spachiman being like, LaRavia's out for 3-4 weeks.
I actually, see, now I love that one. Because it makes sense. You need a basketball player.
They need a basketball player. But hey, you guys aren't cutting it. Who?
Just sign a guy like, sign me. Let me be the 15th man.
I want to.
Hollinger wrote the old OG piece. Like, let me be the coach on the bench. Oh man, I got this torn calf. Just take the roster spot.
I mean, the dark comedy version of this is like the Netflix or the Black Mirror episode of this is like, there's like a meeting with like the bottom 5 guys on the Grizzlies roster, and it's like, hey, yeah, we're gonna scratch one of your corneas. So like, we're just gonna draw a number. Whoever's number comes up, your cornea gets scratched.
Hey man, do you need LASIK? Let's get you LASIK. And then we'll say complications from LASIK. You know what I mean?
Anyways, that was a listener submitted question, the Croissant questionnaire. If you want to submit your own question, you have to be a Patreon supporter. If you want to get the bonus episode recorded this week with John Burr, John was available for that one. It's only available at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. So for just $1 a month, you get access to that bonus episode with John. For $3 a month, you can join the Slack channel. By the way, those prices go away on December 31st. Prices going up for the new year. So get in now. You'll be locked in for life at whatever level you join at. So support the show, patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right, Dave, it's now time for the International Stackhouse of Pancakes Award, giving each week the worst performance in a box score. We have several honorable mentions. Brandon Ingram, Mike Conley, and Trae Young all went 3 for 14. Scotty Barnes had a 5 for 19. Cam Thomas, 7 for 23. Alperen Şengün had an 8 for 25 game. Those are merely our honorable mentions. Our 3 nominees as they occurred chronologically through the last week. All right, Dave. First, we have Chet Holmgren. In a loss to the Timberwolves, he was 6 for 20 from the field. I didn't know he could do that. 6 for 20, 16 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, no turnovers, 2 personal fouls.
Second best player on the team, man.
He's amazing. So really good stat line, but a 6 for 20. Next up.
You know what though? Positive, because a rookie shooting 20 shots, even when it's not falling, that's pretty good. He didn't beat himself.
All right. So our next up is another rookie. Keontae George in a loss to the Timberwolves. This Timberwolves team might be good at defense. Keontae George was 4 for 19. Whew. Had 12 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, no steals, no blocks, 2 turnovers, 2 personal fouls. So pretty bad game there. Finally.
You know that the meme where it's like, the handsome guy flirting, and the ugly guy is sexual harassment. That's how I feel about the first 2 guys here. Chet Holmgren, flirting. Keontae George taking 19 shots.
No, I like green light Keontae George. They got nothing over there with Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson's out with a back. Man, he's doing Christmas shopping.
Yeah, that's
right. Final nominee, Kyrie Irving, in a loss to the Grizzlies in a game where Luka Doncic did not play. He was 3 out of 15 from the field, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, no steals, no blocks, 1 personal foul.
He didn't have a back.
Yeah, seriously. So Holmgren, 6 for 20. I think we're throwing him out. He had a good stat line. Basically, What do you think? Keontae George, 4 for 19, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. And then Kyrie Irving, 3 for 15, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists.
To be fair, if Luka's not out there, Kyrie also doesn't have any help. But Kyrie, like the 3 or 15, that's bad. Come on. And you're Kyrie. You're not Keontae George. My expectations are just higher.
If we did, so here's the thing. If we did blind ballot, if I just read you the stat lines, I think Keontae takes it. I think really? 4 for 19.
Pretty rough.
Pretty
rough.
It's
Keontae.
All right, good. You got where I wanted you to go. All right, here we go. Congratulations, Keontae George, on your first International Stackhouse of Pancakes Award. All right, par fadeaway, Dave.
This year?
No, goodness, no. I have no idea. I don't keep records. There's no. It's all my memory.
Someone does.
My memory is fading fast. Anyways,
one of your tens of thousands of listeners definitely keeps.
Par fadeaway, Dave. What thing are you looking forward to in the coming week? Are you driving to Vegas?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm gonna, work from home. The 2 p.m. Pacific start.
The 2 p.m. What do we do then? It's gonna be great.
Listen, it is one of the things that I think this tournament could use is noon Eastern starts on tournament days. Let us watch the tournament. I mean, we all collectively take the month of March off to watch college basketball. And really, it's just 2 weeks where we take those Thursday and Fridays. Give us that. I love that. So start these games early. Let them be on TV. People worry about the stands filling up. I don't think that's a problem. I do think that you could just, you could get people in the door, but I would like early starts. That would be really nice. So I'm pumped about this 2 Pacific start. It's a neutral site location, so it's not, you don't have the complication that you would have like if this was being played in Boston, for instance. So I understand those sort of limitations. But man, I'm really looking forward to that because I don't know, there's just something, it feels different when basketball's on in the afternoon on a weekday. And I don't know if it maybe isn't special, but like, remember, what is it? Marathon Day when the Celtics, they play that noon start or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
I love it.
Yeah.
MLK, I mean,
I'm with you. I wonder if I feel like all the regular Joes though with 9 to 5s, maybe it's just annoying to them.
I don't know. People watch YouTube all day at work. All I hear is they listen to podcasts while they work.
That's true.
I don't understand. Why couldn't you have the TV on?
All you employers having people come back into the office, they're just sitting there watching YouTube.
Yeah.
They're working harder at home. My part fade away. I'll say it again. It's Grizzlies Pistons. It's tonight, and I'm pretty sure the Grizzlies are going to lose. I think the healthy Pistons players are more talented than the healthy Grizzlies players, and I think that this is the Pistons' chance to win a game. And if they don't win it tonight, I'm now looking forward to how long the streak goes because
they've won 9 games in 2023.
Yeah, the whole calendar year.
9
That's like
games.
Bobcats action. I mean, that's unbelievable. Anyways,
7-game series between the Grizzlies and Pistons right now.
Let's do it. I'm in.
Pistons win.
I think I think the Grizzlies win.
Pistons suck.
The Pistons are a mess.
The Grizzlies are going through it.
Keep cashing them checks.
Hopeless.
Monty Williams. Anyway, thanks you guys for checking out this episode. Thanks to Dave for filling in. If you want to support the show, do that at patreon.com/Fastbreak Breakfast. Use that promo code FBBF at Underdog Fantasy. You guys are the best. Thanks for listening. And remember, breakfast is the most important thing.
I will remember.